Well, thank you very much, General de Chastelain, Your Honor, Premier, President Doherty, members of the military family leadership who are here, our veterans, our cherished veterans, ladies and gentlemen, families of the fallen. I'm truly honored to be with you on this auspicious occasion. Ça fait un grand plaisir pour moi. And I want to say, Premier, this is the first time I've had a chance to publicly congratulate you and to tell you that all the way out to the East Coast, people were cheering. Because we need Alberta to be great, Your Honor. And I'm proud to be from a province that has helped Alberta become great. And on that note, I can tell you that Sidney Crosby will be back in the NHL very soon. I have this from a high source, his mother. Honored guests, student faculty members here at Mount Royal, my good friend Lee Richardson, who's with us, honorary colonels. It's a real pleasure to be with you at this wonderful university, which is so closely tied to our military history. And today's events come at a very timely moment in our country's history. With Veterans Week now underway, Canadians are very much turning their thoughts to our men and women in uniform and their families in genuine displays of gratitude and respect, and not just by wearing the poppy. I think you see throughout the country a very spontaneous, genuine demonstration of affection, of gratitude, of understanding of what it means to wear the uniform. It's a time of reflection, and it's a time to remind ourselves to never forget. As such, I'm very pleased to be a part of today's ceremony and to underline that recognition through the awarding of military memorial bursaries for the first time. This initiative would not have been possible, as has been mentioned, without the incredible efforts of the archivists here at Mount Royal University. To Dr. White, Dr. Patricia Room and her team, sincere thanks for the tireless efforts to reconstruct this very important part of our past. And I was reminded recently of the military history on this continent. And I know, General de Chastelain, you as a military man who has contributed greatly, as has the Lieutenant Governor, to our history here in Canada, but also far afield. In places like Belfast, where I dare say General de Chastelain was a pivotal figure in finally achieving peace in war-torn Northern Ireland. And I had the opportunity recently to speak at West Point, which is the very auspicious military university in the United States of America. We share an exchange program at the Royal Military College in Kingston with West Point. And while I was there, I couldn't help but remark on the fact that we are approaching the bicentennial of the War of 1812. Next year marks 200 years. And the War of 1812 is significant in many ways, not the least of which it really laid the foundation for our country and for our military. In fact, I would argue we had a military before we had a country. And it's not an exaggeration to say that this was a real war. It was, in fact, the only time in both our nation's history that Americans and Canadians stood on the opposite side of a battlefield. And there were numerous skirmishes near Niagara, Kingston, at the border. So much so was this a real war that Canadians, French, English, Native, marched to Washington and attempted to burn down the White House. A historical fact. The President of the United States so narrowly escaped that invasion that his porridge was still sitting warm on the kitchen table. And it's called the White House because of the scorching that happened on the building. Now, for our troubles, the Americans retaliated. They marched to York, what was then called York, now Toronto, and rumor has it they were looking for the Stanley Cup. But as I reminded them, they would not find it there or then. I do feel very fortunate to be in the company of so many great Canadians here and to share the stage, truly, with Canadian heroes. General de Chastelain served twice as the Chief of Defence Staff. His Honour, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, and, of course, Premier Alison Redford, all have served their country with great distinction. Premier Redford brings a very unique and important perspective to bear on her new role. As a lawyer with international experience, she has worked on behalf of governments, with the United Nations, and to help enable real change in Afghanistan, something we all desire. It's clear that her support goes beyond professional duty. I know personally it is her heartfelt and genuine desire to bring about change. And certainly her presence here today will reflect that. Like so many Canadians, she knows that our country's contributions to Afghanistan have been both invaluable and incredibly important to Afghans and to the entire international community. Just over a month ago, my good friend Laurie Hahn, a Member of Parliament from Edmonton and a former Air Force fighter pilot, was with Premier Redford at Steel Barracks in Edmonton. Together, they helped send off 200 soldiers from the 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, whose motto, first in, first out, is correct when it comes to this mission in Afghanistan. These troops were bound for Afghanistan, where, over the months, they came to play a crucial role as part of the NATO training mission, helping Afghan national security forces to ensure the safety and the security of the people of that country and the entire region. And it's moments such as these send-offs, these returns, that one must reflect on those timeless personal moments that families feel upon seeing a loved one disembark for a war-torn country, and the sense of relief and utter joy as they return home, and the sudden sadness in the realization that they may not. I similarly had an experience just a few days ago in watching Canadian Air Force, Royal Canadian Air Force members return from the Libya mission. And as they disembarked from the plane, the looks on the faces of spouses and children was truly heartwarming. I'd seen that similar look standing on the wharf in Halifax a few weeks prior as the HMCS Charlottetown returned to port. As I said, these are timeless moments in our country's history, but a stark reminder of what's at stake and the sacrifices that are made by military personnel and by their family as well. Since March, our Air Force and Navy have been working in support of the United Nations and NATO-led mission to protect people in Libya. And they performed with professionalism, with unbounded commitment, and achieved great success, and are now returning home to Canada with heads held high. The rush that families feel upon seeing their loved ones return home is really a sight to behold. It has been through Canada's Afghanistan mission that we have seen a nationwide surge in appreciation and understanding and respect for the work of the Canadian Forces. This has been, in my view, an awakening for our country. The flood of moral support is rooted in a simple fact. There is a new generation of Canadian soldiers and a new generation of Canadian families that have felt the sting and the starkest of the war. And yet, above it all, there is a clear demonstration of the profound dedication and professionalism and patriotism of Canadian soldiers. They know without question, as do their families and I believe our citizens, that our soldiers, sailors, air personnel, and special forces are at the vanguard, risking their very lives their very lives to protect Canadians and citizens in far-off countries that I dare say a few years ago we could not have found on a map. Yet we are there striving alongside our allies, helping to create a better world. And what higher calling is there to lay down one's life for a fellow citizen you've never met, of a country you've never been? And that appreciation has been seen time and time again across a country through red rallies, wearing of yellow ribbons, sports appreciation nights, and yes, dare I say it, the Highway of Heroes, a place where 158 Canadians have traveled, having given their lives in service of our country. And they join the names of over 115,000 others who have given their lives in service of Canada. And today, through these bursaries, 27 other names are being held high and honored. I'm so very pleased that Mount Royal has made the honoring of these 27 Canadian Forces personnel a part of this university's centennial celebrations. As many of you know, and as His Honor has noted, this campus and community of Mount Royal has a unique and long-standing connection to the Canadian Forces. The land upon which this campus now sits was used for pilot training in the Second World War, the former Currie Barracks just a stone's throw away, and the Military Museum of Calgary. Again, a great tribute to military service is just close. But given that connection, I'm very pleased that you are taking crucial steps to reinforce the understanding of what military service means to the community. And I can honestly think of no greater, lasting, living tribute to military service than that of education. And I was sitting here thinking about how appropriate it is that we're in a building of continued learning education, higher education. And when I think about Afghanistan, and I'm asked often, as you would expect, why are we there? Was it worth it? Premier, when I think of 7 million more children now able to attend school, a third of them girls, nothing will be more transformative of that nation, as it was of ours, than access to education. And so, associating with soldiers' service, higher education, you are paying the highest tribute, in my view. This bursary, this program, has purposeful dedication to safeguarding history and to ensuring and protecting future respect for military service. Last year, you joined Project Hero, a scholarship program created to cover the costs of undergraduate tuition for students who've lost a parent while serving our country in uniform. And before that, you created a bursary in the name of Corporal Nathan Hornberg of the King's Own Calgary Regiment, who gave his life in Afghanistan in 2007. And I understand that it's the project that inspired this centennial initiative that we're recognizing today. And through these 27 bursaries, a new connection is being forged, a link between the young minds of today and tomorrow and the generations of Canadians and students who went before them. And those Canadians who served before them wore the maple leaf with pride and with purpose. The only analogy I can think of that demonstrates that same sense of patriotism is our Olympic athletes, with their dedication and pride and professionalism and unwavering belief in a better world and the role that they can play in achieving it. And to the 27 students studying at Mount Royal University today that have been chosen to achieve these, you've been given an incredible opportunity to continue a great legacy. As the archivist here will tell you, the past is a fragile thing. And as such, I cannot encourage you enough to celebrate the names of these brave Canadians, to remember them, the unlimited liability that they bore to our country as men and women of the Canadian Forces. and to ensure that your families, your children, know exactly how the debt is and exists that we all owe to our Canadian forces who carried out their service, and know that you carry them in your hearts. I know that each and every one of the recipients of this beneficiary have been selected because of unique circumstances, and I know that each one of you deserve this, and I look forward to hearing about the accomplishments that you will achieve through these bursaries. I congratulate all of you, all of your families. You are carrying on such an important tradition in our country. And those who serve our nation, I know, would be very proud of the contribution that you will make in the future, lest we forget. Thank you.